Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. In this video, I'll be walking you through the Rivian app. We'll go through all the menus, screens, and features. So if you're looking to learn everything you can about the Rivian app, you've come to the right place. Let's get started. Okay, so this is the first screen you're going to see when you open up the app. You'll have a view of your truck. There's a couple different functions that are located on this first screen. So on the top left, you've got vehicles that are connected to your account. The first one is my R1T, and then it also shows any reservations you have. So I've got the R2 reservation, and that is showing up in here as well, which is really cool. Go back to my truck here. So you'll see your battery percentage, and if you tap on that, it's going to show you a mileage number instead of the percentage. Now that moon and stars that's up in the top right corner is just showing that my truck is asleep right now. But if I tap on that, it will wake the vehicle up. When your vehicle sits for about 30 minutes, it's going to go into sleep mode just to conserve battery. And this is one way to wake it up. This generally takes a minute to wake the truck up. So be patient with this if you do encounter this waking screen. Okay, now that the truck is awake, you'll see another icon has popped up for me in the top right. And that's just to let me know that the cabin climate is really warm right now. If I press on that temperature, it'll give me access to climate control. So if I wanted to cool down the cabin, I could do that here. I'm going to show you the climate controls in a second though, so we're not going to deal with that right now. And then you can lock and unlock your vehicle with the buttons on the bottom here. This does sometimes take a second through the app. And the little 4 box icon next to that is going to give you some control. So you can sound your alarm. You can vent your windows. So if you just wanted to have a little bit of fresh air coming into the cabin, you can do that from the app. Now, when I do that, if I go back to the home screen at the top right, it's going to show me that some windows are open with this top view icon here, just as a reminder here. If you had any other things open like the doors or the front, this would also show up in this top view. If I go back to this controls option, we're going to close the windows. Okay, and then I can open hood with the R1T, drop tailgate, and open both gear tunnel doors. If you have an R1S, you'll have a little bit different menu here just to be able to open the lift gate. Now, one thing to note, the truck does not know if something is in the way. So if you are opening anything here, your hoods, your lift gate, your tailgate, make sure your truck's in a spot where it's not going to open your hood into something. Like if it's in the garage and you open the lift gate, it will just try to open it. So just make sure you're in a spot where you know what you're doing when you open things from the app. Now, there are some different illustrations or images that will show up here on this main screen depending on what I'm doing with the truck. Right now I'm parked, but if I were driving, it's going to change the view of the truck and show me that it's in motion. If you're charging, you're going to get a little bit different view here, and I'll go into that in just a few minutes. And then when you have other features enabled like car wash mode, you also get a pretty cool illustration that pops up here. Okay, scrolling down, next is climate. So I can turn the climate control on here with this fan. Once that's on, I can control the temperature the same way I would from inside the truck. Quick little tip to get to the highest temperature, press and hold on the up button, and you can press and hold on the down button to get to low. You've got the window defroster accessible as well. And then surfaces will let you control the heated and cooled seats. So the first icon is for heated seats as well as steering wheel. And the next icon is for the vented seats. And you can set them to any of the 3 different settings from the app. And then schedule is a really cool feature where you can set what you want the temperature of the cabin to be at a certain time of day. So right now it's pretty hot here. Let's say on the weekends at 8 a.m., I want the cabin to be a nice, comfortable 68 degrees. I can turn on the vented seats or heated, whatever I wanted here as well. And also if I want to pull energy from a charger, I can do that. So if your vehicle is plugged in and you wanted it to run the climate control using energy from the charger, you can do that here. Click save, and that will store a schedule. Now you can go in and change settings if I decided I wanted to adjust the temperature a little bit, or change the time that I wanted it set to be at this temperature. I could do that. I can also edit the name at the top here and just click save, and it will update any of your saved settings. So this is a really cool feature to be able to get into your truck at a comfortable temperature at pretty much any time of day. There's one other feature that you can't, at least right now, activate from the app, but that will show up in the app, and that is pet mode. So if you have pet mode on, you'll see a little paw show up in the top right of the screen. And if you pull down from the top, you'll see that pet mode is on. You'll get a little animation showing that. And then also if you go into the climate part of the app, it'll also show you that pet mode is on, and you can change the temperature that it's set to from the app. Next, we have energy. I'll run through this while we're not charging, and then I'll plug the truck in and I'll show you what it looks like when we are charging. Right now, it's displaying my charge limit. It's going to give you some suggestions for charge limits to extend the life of your battery. These are the same numbers that you'll see inside the truck when you look at the charge limits. And if I click on this bar here, I can set my charge limit manually. You can go down to 50% and all the way up to 100%. Now you'll notice that it'll update the number of miles you'll have at that charge. So if I were to be at 50% charge, I would have 145 miles. If I was all the way at 100%, 284 miles. So it's cool that it'll show you what your expected range is based on your charging percentage. Down from that, you've got a schedule. I've got this set to maximize my energy usage when my electricity costs a little bit less, but you can set a schedule for when charging starts and stops. And that's just this cool scroll wheel clock with this green bar at the bottom here. You can select daily or weekdays. Down from there, you can set an amperage limit. And then at the bottom, you can select what location this schedule applies to. So you can actually click on the map and move this around, and that would then use this charging schedule when you're at that location. Okay, and back here we've got our charging history. This is going to show you a summary of your charging sessions. You can click on these and it's going to give you a summary of how long you were charging, how many kilowatt hours you added, what time you charged. So cool to be able to see a summary of all that stuff here. All right, so I'll plug the truck in here and we'll look at what the app looks like when we're actually plugged in and charging. Okay, so when I plug in, the view of the truck is going to change. Now I do have a schedule set for my charging, so that's why there's a blue ring around my charge port. If I swipe down, you'll see what hours that charging schedule is set for. And then going back to energy, you'll get some more information on charging here. So if I click on schedule for 10 p.m., it will show me the charging schedule. And then at the bottom, I can charge now. So if I click that button, it's going to override the charging schedule that I have and start charging the truck. And then once charging starts, you'll see some of these numbers start to update. I am plugged into just a basic wall outlet at home here, so the speeds are going to be very slow. But you'll see the charging speed will show in a graph in this portion. Now, if you click info, it's going to give you some reasons why charging speeds may vary. There's a couple different things that could be happening: battery status, temperature, popular times of the charger, or charger performance. For me, I'm just at home, so none of these apply, but good information to have. That graph chart will continue to update as you charge. You'll see the energy delivered to your vehicle, your charging miles per hour, and the time elapsed since you started charging. Okay, let's click back here and scroll up. So now the charge port on the truck is showing green because I'm charging. You see that little lightning bolt up at the top, and it's showing me my charging speed, when the charging session will end, and the limit I have set for the charging session. As I scroll back down, that charging icon is glowing green, so you'll also know in this screen that you're charging. And if I go back to the charging session, I can stop charging from the app as well. Now, it will prompt you if you're sure. If you are plugged into a charger outside your home, it will stop the charging session and you'll have to go back to your truck to restart charging. So just take note of that if you do stop a charging session. Okay, that sums it up for the charging screens when you're plugged in to a charger. Okay, after charging, we've got security and access. Can turn the motion cam on from here. So this will record if someone walks close to my truck or if something bumps it. And then you've also got your drivers and keys here. If I click on my name, it's going to show me all the keys that are assigned to me. And for Christina, I can actually assign a key to her from this menu. So it'll give me a list of all the options for that: the key fob, key cards, or key band. And if I click on one of these, it will transfer that key to her. And that way, basically, if she unlocks the truck with the key fob, it's going to remember that it's her profile. So it'll set the seat, steering wheel, mirrors, all of that based on her saved profile that's in the truck. That's pretty much it right now for security and access. Next, we'll show the location of your truck. Right now, it's telling me my truck's at home. If I click on this, it will let you open in multiple different map apps and show you a pin of exactly where your truck is. Vehicle updates is just going to show you what system you're currently on. You can set this to auto install from the app as well as in the truck, and you can set a time for when that happens. So if an update comes in, you can set it so it's happening in the middle of the night when you're not using your truck. And you can also toggle whether this happens only at home. And then if I go back to the current system and click see details, it's going to give me a summary of all of the things that were added in the most recent software update. Then we've got vehicle health. This is going to show your tire pressure based on the last reading the truck has. It will not live update when your truck is static because it has to drive to get the tire pressure, but it's going to show you your last recorded tire pressure. Down from there, we'll show your current mileage and maintenance schedule. I'm actually due for maintenance pretty soon here. If I click on see maintenance schedule, it's going to let you know that basically every 7,500 miles, you need a tire rotation and just a general inspection of the truck. Every 3 years, brake fluid flush. And then every 112,500 miles, you'll need a coolant change. And with a quad motor, a drive unit fluid change. Okay, we're going to close that. So from here, if I wanted to, I could request service and add a request. I would just put in maintenance and 7,500 mile check-in. Done. And then I'd click save. That would send it off to Rivian and they would reach out to schedule an appointment. I'm not going to do that right now though. I'm going to exit. Okay, so we're going to go back. Shop parts is one that I haven't actually checked out too much before. So let's see where this takes us. Yes, you can have my cookies. Okay, so we've got touch-up paint pen, wheel center cap. So it looks like basic stuff that if you needed to replace on your own, you could go in here and purchase. Okay, so that's it for vehicle health. All the way at the bottom, you'll see the truck name, your mileage. If I click on that, it'll show me all the details about my specific truck. And then if I click vehicle information, it's actually going to do the same thing. So there's kind of a duplicate way to get to that information there. The owner's guide is accessible through the app. As I mentioned in the main UI video, there's a ton of information in the owner's guide. Now, the one thing is on the app, at the moment, I can't search for a specific topic. But in the truck, you can actually type in a word or subject and it'll give you all the links to where that shows up in the owner's guide. So probably a little more efficient to look things up in the vehicle when you're sitting inside. And then share feedback is going to let me share thoughts, questions, ideas, or suggestions I have for Rivian. They're not going to respond directly to you on these, but it is a way to feed information to Rivian on things that you think could be better. Okay, the next icon is maps and navigation. There's a search bar, so you can type in any point of interest or specific address you want. The button next to that is going to show you what chargers show up on screen. Now you can only select one at a time here, and then I can select multiple networks. And similar to in the vehicle, you're able to hide chargers based on whether they're in use, if they need an adapter, whether they're out of order, which I would check because I don't want to see out of order chargers, if they're incompatible with your truck, or if they have a low charging score. Now, I went over this in the main UI video, but Rivian now has a system that rates chargers from A to F based on how they've performed previously when Rivians have used those chargers. So they kind of have a database of how charging sessions have gone, and they will give you a score for chargers. So once I apply those filters, it'll show me all the chargers in the area that meet those criteria. I'm gonna go back here. Below that will display your trips. This is an area where you can actually pre-plan out trips, and it's one of the probably most useful features in this app that I've found. I have one saved here, but I'm going to show you how to create one from the beginning. So we just hit the plus icon. Where do we want to head to? Let's recreate the one I already have saved, which is in Joshua Tree. So I'm going to select that destination. So before I click plan trip, the button on the top right allows me to adjust a few of the parameters. So if I'm leaving right now, I can just leave the departure time to right now. But if I'm planning this trip for a different day, I can actually select the day. So if I wanted to leave tomorrow morning, I can select a time, and that's going to give me a more accurate representation of what traffic's like at that time. It will let me select what charging stations or charging networks I want to use. And then this is a really cool one. You can set your preferred arrival range. It's going to default to 20%, but I can slide that all the way up to 90. Now, your charging times are definitely going to increase if you do this, but say I wanted to get to Joshua Tree with 50% battery. Also asks you what drive mode you're going to be using. So if you're primarily going to be on highway, I would select conserve. Now, this is a quad motor truck. If you're in a dual motor truck, you will just have access to a couple of drive modes. You won't have as many drive modes as I'm showing here. I'm going to select conserve. And if you are towing a trailer, it will let you select the trailer that you have saved in the truck system from this menu. Okay, we're going to apply. If I wanted to add other stops along the way, I can do that. You can name your trip if you want to do that. And I'm going to click plan trip here. And it's going to take just a minute to calculate a route for us. So it will show the first leg of the trip is 2 hours and 1 minute. I have a charging stop that's 23 minutes at Electrify America. I just click on that icon and it shows me exactly where that charging station is. And then another hour and 44 minutes to get to my destination. Now, if I pull up, it's going to give me the trip summary, what time we're leaving, again, which charging station we're stopping at. That B is the score for the charging station, and then it'll show you your arrival time and range when we get to Joshua Tree. So I can bookmark this with the button on the left, and then if I wanted to edit any of the parameters, I would just click that pencil there, and then we can change any of the trip preferences if we want to. The last thing is you can send this to your Rivian. So this will send the route and navigation to your truck so it's ready to go when you're ready to leave. Okay, so this is a pretty awesome feature to be able to plan out your trips, see where your charging stops are going to be, and have a good idea of how long it's actually going to take to get to a destination because it includes the time for your charging stops. All right, I'm going to exit out of that for right now. And we now have 2 Joshua Tree trips planned. If I wanted to delete one of these, just swipe to the left and it'll get rid of it. All right, and then in the map, I can scroll around. I'll see all the charging stations I have based on my filters that I set earlier. If I select one of these, it will give me details on them. I can plan a trip to that destination or charger, same idea as what I just showed you. And if you had a set destination or charger like this, you can send that to your truck as well. Okay, so that is the map and navigation portion of the app. Super useful for sure. All right, next on the bottom right of the screen is going to be your personal information and some ways to get in touch with service. If I click on Manage Account, there's a lot of personal information that you'll have in here that you can edit. I'm not going to click on all these just for the sake of not putting all of that out on the internet. But this is where you could edit any of these specific things about your profile, your payment methods, addresses, anything like that. Transfer vehicle ownership. You can also set preferences for communications. App permissions will take you to settings in your phone. Same thing with data and privacy. A basic but useful one, you can access units here. So if you needed to change to Celsius or kilometers or change the way your tire pressure is displayed, you can do that here. And then you've got some legal documents that you can access in this area as well. Okay, below that, get in touch. It's not letting me retrieve my vehicle data at the moment. Interesting. But you can get support here through chat. You can make a phone call or send an email. I've done this before, as you can see in messages. But this is a really good way, especially the chat I've found is quite useful to get a hold of someone if you have a question. And then if I go back, service will show you if you have any active appointments or active requests. And then I can go look at my past invoices. These are anytime I've had the truck in for service. And then if I click on those, it'll give me more details about the documents from that service. We'll go back again. Then we've got tools and resources. If you click on frequently asked questions, it's going to bump you to the Rivian website's support center where you can access all sorts of different information. We're going to go back to the app. And then there is a hop in the R1T, which gives you some basic how-tos and information about your truck. Now, obviously, if you're in an R1S, this will be giving you information on an R1S. We'll go back. The final thing that'll show up in this last menu is roadside assistance. If I click that button, it's going to prompt me to make a phone call, so that will connect you with roadside assistance. All right, back to the main screen. We've got a couple final things to cover. If your iPhone is in dark mode, the app display will update to match. So instead of the white background, the app will display in this darker color scheme. And finally, there is a Rivian widget that can be added to the lock screen of your phone. This will show your battery percentage, and you'll also get pop-ups when you're doing things like using pet mode, charging the truck, or using the HVAC system. This is a great way to, at a glance, be able to see the status of your Rivian. And I'm sure over time, there will be more widget functions added to this as well. All right, that covers the Rivian app. If you haven't already checked out the full UI walkthrough, I definitely recommend giving that a watch so you'll know everything about the interface inside the Rivian. That does it for this video. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.